Captain Yahya was a respected man in the army of Burkina Faso. He was strong, loyal, and had spent over 15 years serving his country. Soldiers looked up to him. He followed orders. He led men into battle. He knew how to survive, and he believed in protecting his people. But deep down, Yahya was tired. He had seen too many friends die. He had seen villages destroyed by terrorists. He had seen foreign powers promise help and then disappear. And now, things were changing fast under the new leader, Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Traoré was young and bold. He didn't follow the West. He kicked out French troops. He started working with other African nations and even reached out to new allies from places like Russia. Many in the army admired him. But not everyone was happy. Some people, especially outside the country, were angry. One hot afternoon, Yahya got a message from someone in the intelligence unit. "You have a private meeting today," the message said. Location: Continental Hotel. Room 312. Time: 5 p.m. Don't tell anyone. Yahya didn't ask questions. He changed into plain clothes and took a taxi. The hotel was quiet, clean, fancy, mostly used by foreigners. When he got to room 312, a tall man in a suit opened the door. "Captain Yahya," the man said with a smile. "Please come in." Yahya walked in slowly. The room smelled of expensive perfume. There was a briefcase on the table, next to a glass of whiskey. The man closed the door behind him and sat down. "I won't waste your time," the man said. "We know who you are. We've followed your career. You are smart, brave, and perhaps tired of being a simple soldier." Yahya didn't reply. The man leaned forward. "Let me speak clearly," he said. "Your president, Ibrahim Traoré, is not going in the right direction. He's closing the doors to the West. He's turning his back on those who once supported Burkina Faso. This will bring danger, not just to him, but to the entire region." Yahya raised his eyebrow, but still said nothing. The man smiled again. "We are here to fix that," he continued. "And we need someone like you to help." He reached down, opened the briefcase, and turned it toward Yahya. Stacks of money. US dollars. All clean, all new. 5 million, the man said. $5 million. All for you. If you do just one thing. He paused. "Remove Ibrahim Traoré." Yahya froze. The man went on, as if offering a business deal. "You don't have to do it alone. You can make it look like an ambush. An accident. You have access to his travel plans. You know how to plan things. When it's done, you call this number." He placed a small black phone on the table. "And we get you out. You'll never have to fight again. You'll be rich. Safe. Far from all this mess." Yahya stared at the phone. "Think about it," the man said. "You've served long enough. You've given enough. This is your chance to start over." Then he stood up, shook Yahya's hand, and said, "You have 3 days. After that, the offer disappears." He left the room without another word. Yahya sat in silence for a long time. He looked at the money. He touched the phone. $5 million. It didn't even feel real. He imagined his life if he took the deal. A big house. No more dusty uniforms. No more orders. No more war. He could live in Dubai or South Africa. Maybe even Europe. His kids could go to private school. His wife could open a business. They would never struggle again. But then a voice inside him spoke. "Traoré is one of us." He remembered the day Ibrahim Traoré had visited soldiers on the front line. Traoré had brought water, medicine, and food. He didn't wear a fancy suit. He came in uniform, just like them. He shook hands with every soldier. He sat on the ground. He even ate from the same pot. Most leaders never did that. Yahya remembered that moment. It had moved him. It had reminded him why he joined the army in the first place, not for money, but to protect something real. He stood up, picked up the phone, and the briefcase. He left the hotel quietly. Outside, the sun was setting over Ouagadougou. But inside Yaya's heart, a storm was starting to rise. Captain Yaya returned to his home with the briefcase and the phone. He locked the door, turned off the lights, and sat on the floor. He placed the money and the phone in front of him. The room was silent, except for the slow ticking of the wall clock. He was sweating, even though the fan was on. He looked at the money again. It was real. It was more money than he had ever seen in his life. If he took that money and left, he could live like a king. No more war. No more pain. No more waiting for government pay that arrived late. No more burying friends. Yaya's wife, Aisha, knocked on the door gently. "Are you okay?" she asked. "I'm fine," he replied. "Just tired." She left him alone. She didn't ask questions. She was used to his silence. As a soldier's wife, she had seen him come home with blood on his hands, dust on his face, and sorrow in his eyes. She knew the army changed people. It had changed Yaya too. But tonight was different. This wasn't a war on the battlefield. This was a war inside his own heart. Yaya lay on the floor and stared at the ceiling. He thought of everything the man had said. "You are tired. You deserve more. This is your chance." It was true. He was tired. And yes, he did deserve better. For years, he had fought without asking why. He had followed orders. He had protected leaders who didn't care about soldiers. But Traoré was not like them. Yaya remembered the day Traoré first visited the front line in the north. Most leaders only came to the base when it was safe. But Traoré flew into a red zone, a place still under threat. He didn't bring a huge team. Just a few guards, his uniform, and some boxes of supplies. He shook hands with every soldier. He looked them in the eyes. When he saw a wounded soldier, he kneeled beside him and said, "You are the reason Burkina Faso still stands." That was the first time Yaya saw a leader cry. Real tears. No cameras. No speech. Just emotion. That day, something in Yaya's heart had shifted. But now, $5 million sat in front of him. And it was heavy, not just in weight, but in what it meant. If he took the money, he could forget the war. He could disappear. He could buy a new life. He stood up, walked to the window, looked out at the dusty street. Children were playing football barefoot. A woman was selling peanuts in a bowl. A man was fixing a motorbike. Life was simple. Poor, but real. He turned back and stared at the phone again. What if he said yes? What if he called that number, killed Traoré, and vanished? Would anyone know it was him? Maybe not. But he would know. For the rest of his life. He would see Traoré's face in his dreams. He would hear the sound of gunshots. He would live in a nice house, but with a heart full of shame. And what if the country fell into chaos after Traoré's death? Would the same foreign men who paid him to kill Traoré come to fix the mess? No. They would sit back and watch Burkina Faso burn. Suddenly, Yaya felt sick. He picked up the briefcase and slammed it shut. He wrapped it in an old army jacket. He placed the phone in a metal tin and taped it shut. Then he fell to his knees and prayed. "God," he whispered, "don't let me fail this country. I am not perfect, but don't let me do this evil thing." When he stood up, he was shaking. But he had made his decision. He would not be the man who betrayed his own people for dollars. He would not sell his soul. At 6 a.m., Yaya dressed in uniform and left the house. He didn't tell Aisha anything. He got on his motorbike and drove straight to the military headquarters. He went to the top floor. He asked to speak to President Traoré alone. The guards looked confused, but they let him in. Yaya entered the room and saluted. Traoré looked up from some papers. "Captain Yaya," he said. "What brings you here this early?" Yaya stepped forward, opened the briefcase, and placed the phone on the desk. Then he said 4 words. "Sir, they want you dead." President Ibrahim Traoré stared at the briefcase full of money. He looked at the black phone lying next to it. Then he looked at Captain Yaya. The room was quiet. No one else was there. You say they offered you this to kill me? Traoré asked slowly. Yahya stood straight. Yes, sir. A foreign man. He said you are a problem. He gave me 3 days to make it happen. Traoré leaned back in his chair. He didn't look surprised. He didn't even seem angry. Instead, he closed his eyes for a moment, as if trying to process what he already suspected. They think money will solve everything, Traoré said softly. Yahya nodded. I thought about it. All night. I was tempted, sir. I won't lie. But I couldn't do it. Traoré stood up, walked to the window, and stared out at the city. The streets were waking up. A few motorbikes moved down the road. Smoke from a nearby food stall rose into the sky. He turned back to Yahya. You could have taken the money and run, Traoré said. Why didn't you? Yahya paused, then replied, because you're fighting for us. Not for yourself. And I remembered that. I remembered the front line. I remembered your tears. I remembered you treated us like men, not tools. Traoré nodded slowly. Thank you, he said. You've done more than you know. Traoré called in 2 trusted officers. He told them everything. He gave them the phone and the money. Yahya repeated his story. No detail was left out. They moved fast. That same day, a small intelligence team began tracing the phone. It was a special kind of phone, unregistered, foreign-made, and designed to be hard to track. But Burkina Faso had allies now, new ones with tools the West never wanted them to have. Within 48 hours, they found a signal. The phone had been linked to another device at the hotel. The man in the suit was still in the country, likely meeting others, building his plan. Late that night, soldiers in plain clothes moved in quietly. They arrested the man without a single gunshot. He didn't resist. He just smiled. You're making a big mistake, he told them. But no one replied. They searched his hotel room and found more phones, laptops, and fake IDs. There was also a list of names, including other army officers. Some had already been offered money. Some had already agreed. It was bigger than anyone thought. Traoré and his team worked fast. They quietly removed anyone on the list from key positions. Some were arrested. Others were sent far from the capital. The story was never released to the public. There was no press conference, no headlines. Burkina Faso was still fighting terrorists, still trying to build a new future. Traoré knew that panic would help the enemy. But inside the walls of the military, the truth spread like fire. Captain Yahya had said no. He had chosen loyalty over luxury. A week later, Traoré called Yahya back to his office. This time, he wasn't alone. There were ministers, generals, and advisors in the room. Traoré stood and pointed to Yahya. This man saved my life, he said. He had every reason to say yes to the money. But he didn't. He chose Burkina Faso. Everyone clapped. Yahya didn't smile. He only saluted. Traoré gave him a medal, but he also gave him something else, a new position. He made Yahya head of a new unit, the Presidential Integrity Task Force. Its job was simple: protect the country from enemies within. Yahya accepted, but he asked for one thing. No fancy office, he said. Let me stay close to the soldiers. Traoré smiled. As you wish. Back at home, Aisha cried when he told her everything. She held his hands and said, "You did the right thing, my husband." He hugged his children tight that night. He didn't have $5 million. But he had peace. He had honor. He had a country that still stood, and a president still alive. And that was worth more than any briefcase of money. The man in the suit was quietly sent out of the country after questioning. No one ever saw him again. But those who heard about him remembered his smile, and how it failed to break one honest soldier. The struggle for Africa's future continued. But because of men like Yahya, Burkina Faso still had a fighting chance. A story of truth, courage, and the power of saying no when it matters most.